I'm Maria, and today I am going to show you how to add custom CSS to Elementor. One of the biggest selling points of using page builders such as Elementor is that you get access to pre-built page elements or widgets. Elementor widgets include plenty of customization and styling options. However, sometimes the only way to apply a particular style is with Cascading Style Sheets or CSS. CSS gives you an amazing degree of control over every component of your website. Adding it to WordPress is simple if you're familiar with the language. Elementor also offers several options for adding custom CSS. In this video, I will show you how you can add custom styling to Elementor. We'll also discuss some best practices for using CSS in WordPress. But before we get too far, I want to let you know that there will be links to more resources in the video's description. And remember, subscribe and ring that bell to get notifications for future helpful content. Now, let's look at our custom CSS options in Elementor. If you're familiar with Elementor, you'll know the builder uses sections, columns, and widgets to help you put together pages. Sections contain one or multiple columns, and each column can have several modules. One of the best parts of using Elementor is that you can add separate CSS code at the section, column, and widget level. When you hover over a section, you can select the 6-dot icon to open the Edit section menu on the left side of the screen. If you move to the Advanced tab within the Edit section menu, you'll see a Custom CSS section. Inside, you'll find a field that enables you to add code for that specific section. When you edit columns and widgets, you'll notice that you have access to the same three tabs in their respective settings menus. Sections, columns, and widgets all include layout, style, and advanced settings. To add custom CSS to a column, hover over it and select the two-column icon on the top right corner of the element. Then navigate to the Advanced option and open the Custom CSS section. You can follow the same process to add custom CSS to an Elementor widget. Simply select the widget that you want to customize and move directly to the Advanced, then Custom CSS tab. Adding custom CSS to specific elements within the Elementor page builder is very straightforward. However, keep in mind that the styling will only apply to those elements. If you want to add custom CSS that affects your entire site, you'll need to use a different approach. Elementor enables you to add custom CSS to any of its widgets. However, in some cases, you might want to add elements manually using HTML and CSS. In those cases, you'll need to use the HTML widget. The HTML widget can parse HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. You can add any code you want inside the HTML code field, and if it's valid, Elementor will display it as a widget. The HTML widget supports both inline and standalone CSS. Any code that you add using the widget will only affect that single element. Elementor includes a collection of global settings that resemble the options you can find in the WordPress customizer. To access the Elementor site settings menu, open the editor and click on the hamburger menu on the top left corner of the screen. On the next page, select the site settings option. Inside, you'll see a collection of settings that enable you to customize your site style. Any changes that you make within this menu will apply to your entire site, even if you're technically only editing a single page. You can read about how to use the site settings menu to customize your page on the official Elementor site. For now, the only section that we care about is the Custom CSS tab. Open it and you'll see a field that looks just like the custom CSS options for sections, widgets, and columns. Any custom CSS that you add here will affect your entire website. If you only intend to customize specific elements, we recommend that you use a more targeted approach, such as adding CSS directly to a widget. The WordPress customizer also enables you to add custom CSS on a site-wide basis. To do so, go to Appearance, then Customize, and select the additional CSS option in the left-hand menu. However, it's worth noting that the Elementor code fields are more user-friendly than the ones available in the customizer. If you're already using Elementor for site building, there's no reason to add custom CSS through the customizer. If you're comfortable editing WordPress files and accessing your website via a file transfer protocol client, you can enqueue a CSS style sheet to load with Elementor. This approach requires you to add code to the WordPress functions.php file. To access the functions.php file, connect to your website via FTP and go to the WordPress root folder. Open the folder, find the functions.php file, and edit it. Here's an example of the code that you want to add to the file. That code uses the before enqueue scripts hook to load a style sheet called custom style sheet. We also use the get style sheet URI function to point toward the style sheet's location in the server. Ideally, you'll add the custom style sheet within your child themes directory or in the themes folder itself. The style sheet can contain any Elementor CSS code that you want. The snippet that you added to functions.php ensures that the code only loads when Elementor is active on your website. There are several plugins that enable you to add custom CSS to your website without using the customizer or page builders. One of our favorite tools for the job is called Simple Custom CSS in JS. With Simple Custom CSS in JS, you get the option of adding code directly to your theme's header and footer elements. To start, go to Custom CSS in JS, then Add Custom CSS and click on Add CSS Code. A basic CSS editor will appear to the left. To the right, you can configure whether to load the CSS code in an external style sheet or internally. You can also decide whether the code should go in the footer or the header. When you're done editing the CSS code, hit the Publish button. You may need to switch to a front-end view to see the code in action. Whenever you're dealing with any custom CSS or adding any type of code to your website, you'll do well to keep the following best practices in mind. Let's start with using a child theme. If you want to change any part of your theme style using CSS, we recommend that you use a child theme. A child theme is a template that inherits all of the styles of a designated theme. This way, if you make any changes to the original theme, they won't impact the customizations that you add to the child. Moreover, when you update your theme, it will retain these changes. One of the biggest challenges of adding code within WordPress or using Elementor is that you don't get access to all of the functionality that modern code editors offer. Instead of wrangling code using basic on-site editors, we recommend that you use your favorite preprocessor. Then, you can simply copy and paste your code into WordPress. Whenever you're planning on making any big changes to WordPress, we recommend that you use a staging website. Staging sites enable you to test changes in style and functionality without the risk of breaking anything on your live site. Some web hosts provide you with access to staging functionality with your control panel. If you use Kinsta, you can select your website using the My Kinsta dashboard and switch back and forth between live and staging environments. If your web host doesn't offer staging functionality, you can use a local WordPress development environment such as Kinsta for testing purposes. Alternatively, you might want to consider switching hosting providers. Looking for a quality local development solution? With Kinsta, in a single click, you can design, develop, and deploy new WordPress projects from your local machine. Plus, it's 100% free to use, even if you aren't a Kinsta customer. Download it today at kinsta.com/devkinsta. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this video helpful, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more tutorials, explainers, and helpful content like this.